Well, it's the end of the year, and I don't know if you're like most people. We all kind of start reflecting and thinking about the year, looking for the future. And I can tell you one thing I need to work on in 2025. It's a long list, it's longer than Santa's list. But one of the things I need to work on is getting my financial affairs in order, my budgeting and whatnot. And of course, you know who can help me with that? My podcast sponsor, Emily Hickox at Budget Through Life. Emily has this great way of explaining things that I think is just really easy to understand. And she's done classes on understanding credit, debt, budgeting, and she's done them for children. She's done them for senior citizens. She's done them for first time home buyers and so many different groups because she's knowledgeable, but she's really passionate about helping people understand. And she puts it in a way that people really can grasp it. And she uses humor. And you know, I'm a big fan of that. So as I get ready for the new year, I'll be leaning on my friend Emily. And if you could use some help budgeting through your life, look up Budget Through Life on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can always reach out to Emily Hickox on LinkedIn. That's Budget Through Life. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And if you've been following along, and I don't know if you have, December, just how it's been the past couple of years, I don't typically do full episodes. So I kind of give myself a little bit of a break, although I don't know sometimes how much of a break it is. I did something 2 weeks ago. It was like a 21-minute mini-sode, and it took me 3 hours to get it together. So I don't know if that's a break. I was trying to give a nice plug to the Northeastern Philharmonic before their holiday show, and they had reached out and said, could you give us a plug? And I had Melise Brunet on as a guest twice, who I absolutely adore, and we couldn't quite get together as far as we were going to try to even do something in person. It ended up, I said to them, hey, why don't you give me a call? And I won't answer. You just leave a voicemail with some information about this coming weekend's concert, etc. So they got cut off, unfortunately, on my phone, and I have to figure that out. If it's my phone or is it AT&T? So I had two audio MP4A audio files, and then I recorded the front part of that mini-sode, and it took me 3 hours. That's right. So yeah, so I don't know how much those have been less stressful. I don't think so. But in any case, this December has not been like regular months. Like I said, just in case you're wondering, I am aware that I've just been doing kind of some mini-sodes, some talking on my own. But this week is a special guest that I mentioned probably a couple months ago, or a few weeks anyway, that I would have. It is my serial guest. It is one of my absolute favorite guests and people in the world. It is my Pittsburgh pal, Gabbing. So we're going to be gabbing about the holidays, and maybe, you know us, we're going to gab about whatever the hell we feel like gabbing about. Welcome, Gab. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Janine. Happy holidays.
Absolutely. And for folks, who are just listening, do me a favor and hop on the YouTube channel, Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl, and see, we're just looking festive for you. So you check out our outfits.
Yeah, you really should. You really should. I kind of like a Mary Tyler Moore, Thoroughly Modern Millie hat on, or Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like either one. I don't know. Or Paddington, Fozzie the Bear. There's lots of choices, but yeah, hop onto YouTube.
So, I wasn't even like, I like what you said there, but I was thinking more like I was going more Run DMC.
You're way cooler than me, Janine. You're so much cooler. Of course. Yeah, Run DMC.
Well, you've got that like street vibe, and like you could be out there like, yo, Christmas time in Hollis, Queens.
Oh my God, I love that song.
I think I've asked you this. In fact, I almost am certain I asked you before about Abbott Elementary. I think
I
you
was just
watched
gonna
that,
say that killed me when the kids had no idea. They're like, "Can we just do Ariana Grande?"
right? And they're like, no, Run DMC. You don't know Run DMC?
Oh my gosh. My little godson has Run DMC action figures. So
Get out of here. I didn't
yeah,
even know those existed.
my sister bought them for him. They're like those little people, that like that we had when we were kids. Well, they make them in like the Friends characters, Run DMC. You can get the Beatles, you can get them all like.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm gonna guess based on now you're best friends with his mom, and
Yeah.
she clearly knows Run DMC. Does she play the music for him? So does he know the music?
He doesn't, I wouldn't say he knows Run DMC yet. She's she's really good about like age appropriate for him because even like
Okay.
recently there was some movie and she was so shocked that it wasn't age appropriate. Hocus Pocus. She was like, I showed it to him, Gab. I couldn't believe all the things that are in it. I'm like, what? Like, I couldn't think, like, what would be? She's like, well, the whole thing is like they have to find a virgin. I'm like, oh my God. Like, how do you explain that to a 4.5-year-old? Oh, okay, got it. She probably wouldn't do Run DMC, but she's played, she's a big, and I know it's controversial, she's a big Michael Jackson fan. So he knows how to moonwalk already, and he's really into to MJ. That's sort of the family music, but he knows, like, he's obsessed with A Nightmare Before Christmas. So specifically Oogie Boogie. In fact, that's a piece of art that he made me. It's Oogie Boogie.
Aw.
And, I have art of him all of, like, he creates art all the time. It's all over my house. So yeah, that's more like what he's into is Nightmare Before Christmas, and that soundtrack is his whole thing right now.
Oh, wow. It is interesting though, because I mean, I don't have kids, you don't have kids, but you spend a lot of time with Oscar. So you're right. As far as the references, there's so many things that are just adult, but not necessarily blue or crass, but like still above a 4.5-year-old. And what do you want to have to explain? Or, some kids maybe it would go over their head. Some kids are much more observant. So you might be like, okay, this is going to lead to a conversation, right?
No, it's true. And like I had him last Saturday, he came to stay at my house, and I was like really excited for us to watch Christmas movies, but I was like, oh God, like can't show him the Santa Claus because that starts off where Santa Claus dies. Like, and then I mean, that's like a big concept for a little kid. I wanted to show him Emma Daughter's Jug Band Christmas once again. The dad is dead in that one. Also, we started watching it and they were complaining about money, and that just broke him. He's like, wait, I don't understand. Why don't they have money? And I'm like, oh, well, buddy, like some people, and he's like, what is poor? And then like explaining classism to a 4.5-year-old. I'm like, turning off. Let's put Scooby-Doo back on. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it's a lot. He is bright, so he does want to like follow up with what's happening. So yeah, it's tough.
Oh
Charlie
my God.
Brown, that's been safe. He loves the Charlie Brown Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween.
Okay, I could see that then.
Yeah.
Did I see, because checking out your Instagram, did I see that you were at his school or was he at
Yeah.
a presentation? You were at his school?
We actually did 2 shows at his school. Yeah, I was so excited, Janine. It was the greatest.
That is so cool. He's now, so you don't do it for that age, or do you, his age group?
No, so we do. So well, Josh and I mean, we go to like, daycares, and they'll even bring like 2-year-olds into the room. So
Oh, wow.
I always say we've done as young as infant to AARP. That's who we do our show to, and we really have. But yeah, pre-K is now often in like public schools, and he goes to a Catholic school at the moment. So, but yeah, a lot of the public schools have pre-K programs. So they're in the assemblies. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so, for anyone listening that may not have listened before, or if you didn't know this, just so I can give you some context, not only is Gab a stand up comedian and a public speaker, speaking about mental health advocacy and using humor and just telling her story and empowering people, speaking of resilience, all that good stuff. Gab also is part of this duo, the Josh and Gab show, and they go out and go into different schools and they sing original songs about like kind of unifying kids and what it's like to stand up for each other. So that's what I was asking about. So if you follow Gab on Instagram, you'll see they are out and about all the time at different schools. And I did see your picture with Oscar, and I was like, oh my gosh, that had to be such a fun day.
Oh, it was the best. Honestly, I was so excited. I was actually so nervous just because he and I, we have our little dynamic, and I just didn't want him to get in trouble. Like, and Gabby, like shouting out, but he wasn't. He was such a good boy. He showed up with like gifts for Josh and I, drew us each art. He was behaved. He got up and danced. He was just perfect. I know I'm a big fan. I'm his godmother, and I love him a lot. But yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, he's been so great. We've had so much fun this holiday season. He makes the holidays fun.
I can only imagine. So I know, and I've seen pictures. I think last year when you take them, you guys go to see like Christmas lights and things like that.
Yeah, we did a gingerbread. He came to my house last week and he slept over. We made a big blanket fort in my living room. We made gingerbread houses. We, live action role play Scooby Doo. We have so much. He made a little video that I might post for the holiday because he really wants to like make videos for the internet. And so he was like, hosting our blanket fort. And he's like, I hope everyone in the world sees this video. I haven't shown it to anyone, but I'm like, I might post it because I think it is like the most precious little Christmas video.
So okay, I have to back up. Scooby Doo role play. Can we Hear a little bit more about that.
So Oscar is really developing in quite the little actor. So what we do, whatever he's into, we act out. So like if it's Nightmare Before Christmas, he's Oogie Boogie, and I'm Jack Skellington sneaking up behind him to pull the thread. And like we do whatever scenes Oscar wants us to do. So he's sort of the director. He casts us, tells me what scene we're gonna do, what I need to be doing, gives me a blocking. And so we do that with Scooby Doo. So normally we do turns, but he loves the bad guys. He's obsessed with bad guys and everything. So he always wants to be the bad guy. And then I play both Shaggy and Scooby. And then we do the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing, like I'm running into walls and running back into the wall. And then when I catch him, we reveal and it's like, it's Mr. Jenkins. And then he's Mr. Jenkins under the thing. Yeah, we do like full long acting. That's like his favorite thing to do. And I love it. So it's like the perfect playmate for me.
Wow. So is this like, does he say, okay, Aunt Gabby, like I want to do like a particular episode or scene, or is it like kind of the general idea and then he's coming up with the dialogue, like you guys are just running with it?
Yeah, he does get very married to the actual art. So it will be like, no, the space robot says this in this scene. Like he gets very Steven Spielberg with me. I'm like, all right, director, blocking back to places. We literally do that. We're like places, the end, and bow and end the scene and then start back over. Yeah, it's really he's the coolest little kid ever. I have such a blast with him.
Oh my gosh, that's
All the
got to be
stuff
a
his
lot of
mother
fun.
wouldn't do when we were little. All I wanted to do was run plays and do stuff. And she'd be like, no, let's play school. All right.
And she is a school teacher, is she
And she's
not?
a school teacher. Yeah, she went on and yes, and she worked with kids with specifically with autism. And her whole beginning of her career, she was like, I went into this field because she was my best friend. And now that I have the spectrum diagnoses and ADHD, she's like, my work here is done. I've been telling you. So yeah.
Wow. Well, do you guys ever perform for her or for the family, like put on a little play or anything?
Oh, he's very shy. Like he will do, like she'll try to get him to do some of his Oogie Boogie stuff, but like it's our little world. Like he can't wait. Like he needs them to go usually. He's like, can you guys leave? Can we play now? Can we play Nightmare Before Christmas? Can you be Jack? Okay, let's do it. Let's go. Yeah.
Uh,
But he's still
that,
so little that I think it's really amazing he can even do this at this point. I'm like, all right, cool.
yeah, that's cool that that's your thing too. That's
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, he loves art. He loves drawing. Like that's been his big thing these days. Acting, singing. Yeah.
Oh
Also
boy.
doing ice skating, so he's doing the sports too.
Look out. He's trying a little his hand at everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know. Before I can't believe this. Like the fact that he's already such a person at 4.5. I mean, we were just, he was just a little baby I was watching 4 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun to watch personalities develop, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I gotta tell you, Janine, like, and I think you will appreciate this little moment, but like I've had a long journey with mental health and that my life has not been what it is right this second. And I just had this moment last week when he was here and we were in the blanket fort and he had already fallen asleep and I was laying there and I just thought, man, like truly 15 years ago, like couldn't even imagine that this would have been my life. Like truly, like I was in such a downward place that I can't even believe I'm alive, first of all, that I would have this child in my life, that I'm his godmother, and that he's so safe with me, and his parents just drop him off and trust me with him, and we're fine, and I have this great like I was just sitting in such gratitude, and like truly 15 years ago, Gab could not have done that. Like I was not this version, and it was really just like a wonderful moment. Like just be like, wow, thank you for letting me make it here to see Oscar and have this part of my life. Like it's just, yeah, it was wild. This has been a really great December. I can't say anything other than that. I'm really enjoying this season.
That's awesome. So that's like almost the perfect transition, almost like you knew what I was going to say. So it's great that you're having all this fun with Oscar. And of course, you'll continue and making the gingerbread houses, playing. You've
Yeah.
got your Christmas tree up behind you. But as I said to you before, we just talked real briefly before I hit record. I'd love to hear what you would consider like your highlights of the year. And I know last couple times I've had you on, we've talked about where you're at now, like in a truly happy place, which is great. Just let's hear a little bit about some of the awesome stuff that happened this year for you that you're super excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I really think like truly I came into the year with the intention that it was going to be a good year no matter what. Like I was determined. Like I just was like it's going to be the best year ever. Like I somehow figured out how to to tackle my anxiety, which was the thing that was really causing a lot of suffering, and rolled into this year with like almost like for myself, like undying positivity. Like it was just, I was only going to focus on gratitude and find the good. And I will say, like, leading into this year, like, I did not have a lot of gigs in January, February. I mean, I didn't start even like being on the plus side of things probably till May of this year. Like, I mean, and I just kept staying positive. Like there would, but Josh and I watched our business grow. That made me the happiest. We have really struggled from the pandemic. I mean, there were still some schools this fall that were like, this is the first assembly we've had since the pandemic. And we're like, whoa, this was the first year that we clawed our way. We worked every month. We did anything we could do. Like, I was really proud of Josh and I feel like we finally have gotten back close to where we were before the pandemic. I put out an album. I keep forgetting I put out an album, but I did it on my terms. And that was like something I'm very proud of. And it's like this like slow burner. It's getting listens all the time. And I'm amazed by it. I just got a gig because of the album. And I'm like,
Oh,
what the heck?
wow.
Yeah, it's like this thing you just, if I could give any advice to anybody, is never stop. Keep creating, because you never know what you threw out there is going to land on somebody. And that like still is surprising me to this day. I'm really proud of the album, all the work I put into it. There were so many challenges that came with that album, and I didn't let it deter me. And I just kept moving forward, and I did it. I'm really glad that all the stuff, obviously my therapist and mental health and where I am right now, I couldn't be happier. But even more than that, how much she believes in me, and how we're working on a book together, how I just got my certificate to be a life coach, and she's going to recommend her patients to join I'm going to do like a weekly group, so that like with limited to 10 people every week, so that I'm doing life coaching in group form and one-on-one. But like that she's a big part of that, like that. I don't know. I just think that is just so amazing to me. Yeah, and then I worked and became a life coach this year. Like that was something, and that's something I don't want to stop. Like I got the certificate in trauma informed life coach, but I want to do so much more. I want to do parts work. I want to do specific stuff on addiction. I really think I can help people. I lost a brother to addiction, and the first thing I said when I finished the course was, I really wish I would have done this while he was still alive, because I just think I learned so much about trauma and addiction that I would have loved to just share with him. And I think it could have helped so much. So those are just some of the things, but they're all positives. And I also feel like I matured in a way. Like, I don't let fear dictate my decision making. For the longest time, I had been in a professional relationship with a venue in Pittsburgh, and it just wasn't serving me. Gab, was not getting anything out of it. It was just truly a, here, everybody, and I was not being, my cup wasn't being filled. So I've stepped away from that, and that was my choice. And right now I don't have, a local show on the calendar, and people are like, well, when can I see it? I'm like, you'll see me when you see me. Like, I'm not living in like, oh no, I don't have a show. It's like, no, I don't really want to have a show unless there's a reason to, or I'm booked and someone's willing to pay me. So it's just things that I used to just let fear and that kind of stuff dictate it. It's not. And I just feel very like settled, mature, and happy and content for the first time ever. So that this year has been just incredible. One of my favorite years ever.
Well, I want to ask follow-up questions, but I didn't want to stop you from there. But it's amazing that like 3 points, I'm like, in my head, I'm trying to go, okay, I was repeating it, rote memory, so that I could follow up, because you just said three key things that I want to just call out because they've meant a lot to me too. First off, when you said never stop, right? I forget where I heard this, but it was after the election when, a lot of folks were like, oh, this, and some of my friends are still there in that place. I don't know where I saw it, and I don't know. And oh my God, if it'll be like hilarious, but not hilarious if I tell you it and you're like, yeah, I told you. But it was the story of, I forget where I heard it, but I feel like I heard it online, of a truck driver. Someone said this truck driver told this story about the worst thing when people like see an accident, or like the whole idea of just putting their brakes on, or if it's sliding. And he says, don't stop, keep moving forward, because otherwise, like this idea of what happens when you stop. So that, and it was like someone was presenting it or sharing it as the idea of, you don't stop, you keep going. So that I wanted to follow up on, because I love that you just said that, because I know that's a point I was thinking of this year, where it's like, you keep going. You
Yeah.
keep going forward. You keep moving. The other thing, the positive manifestation, would you say that you basically did that? And I'm not saying that's, but like you were determined to have that attitude for the year. And I think we've talked about this before. I feel like I've heard it. And there was a time when I was like, that's a little too hippy dippy. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. And I had mentioned last year when I had Megan on, who is from Joy World, and now she's handling my finance as my IRA, my retirement. And she's big on this manifestation. And it's not that she turned my mind to it, but she got me thinking of it and a little bit differently, where I'm like, you know what? There is something to this, because even though before I thought it was hippy dippy, I'm like, but you know what? It's holding me back because I'm saying things like, oh, I'll never be rich, or oh, I'm not this, I'm working poor, or so when I keep saying it, I'm hearing it, me, my side. Of course, I keep doing that. So I do believe in that. Put it out there. I just struggle with some of, and I've looked them up online, like some of the different mantras that you could say. Some I resonate with more than others. Like, I deserve happiness. I deserve wealth, all that stuff, as opposed to, I'm going to make $1 million. Or I mean, like, I can't do those
Yeah.
maybe because I don't fully believe them, but like I do believe the ones that are just like, I do deserve wealth. I am valuable, like those kind of things. So
Yeah.
was that something specific, or were you just like, you know what, I'm just going to be positive? Was it just you saying that to yourself?
Well, no. So like, so before I even became a life coach, I, as a patient, went through trauma therapy. So my therapist did an amazing, she's a trauma informed therapist. And so through doing that work, I learned about trauma stuck points, meaning that like, so from in my case, I'd been through so many traumas that I had so many different stuck points that I just believed to be true. Like, well, just like good things don't happen to me, like or no one is rooting for me, no one roots for me, like those kind, right? And I just let those like lead the show, and that was the thoughts I had all the time, those kind of like, I'm never gonna win, no one roots for me, I could be the most talented person in the room, but they're always gonna choose some good looking guy over an alternative weird girl, like I anything, like I just, everything's against me, the world is, all of those was how I lived all the time. And then I had to work and reprocess and learn that those were stuck points, and why were those stuck points, what trauma happened, and what were the feelings, and working through the feelings that made my thoughts think things about me that weren't true. Like, it's one thing to have these feelings, but then when those feelings start telling your brain things about you, that's not fair. And the thing I learned is in my life coach class is they don't call it a disorder. They don't call it PTSD. I mean, it is PTSD, but they believe it's your brain adapts. So basically, my brain was adapting to this reality that Gab is a loser. Gab can never get anything. No one roots for Gab. Gab has nobody loves Gab. Gab's all alone. I mean, you say that enough every single day, your life is not so great, right? So once I realized, when we got through those stuck points and I wasn't doing that anymore, I was like, well, wait a minute. What if we do the other thing that I've been doing, which is feeling good about myself, believing in myself? Holy shit, what if I believed in myself every day? Would that be different? And it really has made such a difference. And I do it from every little thing. Like, I know that I am worth this amount. So I will ask this from a client, but I will also say, hey, but can we work with your budget? Tell me what your budget is, because this is as low as I'm willing to go, and this is as high as I want. Things like that, where I used to just be like, whatever you'll give me. I don't do that anymore. I completely value myself. And I don't stress about things. Like, I got low into my savings by putting money into the album, not making money. I mean, I was putting so much money into my business and not getting it back in the last couple of years, that I had every reason to be like, I gotta go drive for, Uber, or do something. I gotta go get a job, a regular person job, whatever the fuck, I don't know what you call those jobs, a gig, a hustle. And every time I went to go do that, I'm like, no, what can you do that you already do? Stop this. You are talented. You've been doing this for 20 years. No, we're not going to go make $4 driving Uber when you could at least make a couple hundred doing a comedy show. Put yourself out there more, whatever. Anytime the confidence would weigh in, I'm like, no, we're confident. We know who we are. So it was sort of like that. And I would say another thing that really changed for me was old me. Something crappy happens in the day, the whole day was ruined by it. Not anymore. Like, I really can acknowledge, like, a day is long. life is long. So in a day, yes, something horrible might happen, but I bet you I'm going to laugh at some point too this day. Like, is the whole day ruined because for 20 minutes it sucked? No, there's a 24 hours in that day. The whole day didn't stick. So I don't even have bad days anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, there was a bad moment, that one 20-minute span, but it's not a bad day. So it's really even reframing that, like not letting your words and your brain make things worse than they actually are. And nothing is really that bad. And when I also did take stock of everything I've lived through, I'm like, yeah, I can live through anything. I've been through some of the hardest stuff that somebody could go through, and I'm still here and I'm still smiling. So I can go through this too, and at least I'm going to try.
Yeah. That, listening to you, I'm like, okay, I mean, I have work to do. I'm not, well, I hear a lot of what you're saying. Like, I'm still doing some of that. I mean, I know I was gonna say there. It's not like I'm at a point where I like let a bad moment ruin my whole day. Like so that I'm actually good at. I can tell myself because I think we've talked about this too before. Well, I will talk to myself. Like
Yeah.
when I get into the car and I'm doing that shit where I'm like, oh well, by all means, you don't need to stop at a stop sign, or oh, like I'm in the car for 4 minutes and I'm doing that, and I will talk out loud to myself. I'll be like, no, 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 Janine, you're not gonna do it. Or this afternoon, I last year I had bought myself a gift certificate that I was going to use this year for a massage. So I got that today. Oh my God. I was as loose as a goose, felt like I was like a puddle. So good. Like I was in the sauna first, the dry sauna, and then I had a 60-minute massage. And then I went back in for a few minutes. I was so relaxed, but I can tell you that I allowed some nonsense and some of it's family, whatever the heck, to get me worked up again. And I'm like, I had a massage before. I'm not going to do this. So I'm pretty good with that. But all the stuff you talked about as far as value, and before you said something about fear, and you're not going to let fear dictate. I literally just had this conversation after the little drama with my good friend Greg, who's a great sounding board. I said, I let fear be the driver or the dictate so many different things. It's like whether it's fear, I'm not going to make I got to take this gig even though it's only this much, and I allowed it to get to that point because I was like, well, I could do it for this. Fear, that's fear. I won't have enough gigs, I won't have enough money. Not worrying about what people are going to think of me. Well, even though I think I'm a good person and I do try to be fair and good to people, I'm allowed to have boundaries. And like sometimes I worry, oh, I can't do that. What if they think this? What if they think that? I have another good friend, Kristen, who is great at this. She's like, why do you care? You don't need to worry. Who cares what they think? And I said to my friend tonight, it's fear. It's got because it's like, I don't want them to not like me. I don't want them to be mad at me. I don't want them to think I'm an asshole. So what I want to say is I totally resonate with what you're saying. And my 2025 goal is to work on that for me, and definitely the value part, because I've had people tell me this before with my pricing. I don't listen, and I need to listen. In fact, I want to get a tattoo on my arm that says shut up, because when I talk to people about pricing, I'll say something and then they might say, "Oh, that's too high." I instantly go blah 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 and I bring it down. Someone else who's a public speaker who gets more than I do said, "Janine, let them counter then." Or say, "Well, what can you do?" Or what is your budget? And I have got to start doing that because I'm not valuing myself and it's all coming from fear. So I hear you are going to be my example, and I am working on that in 2025.
Awesome. That makes me really happy. Well, and also another thing I would also just as like that's helped me is so like recently I was in a negotiation with about money, and it was with someone I've worked with before. They've hired me many times. And what they were asking of me was like to do like workshops through a course of months, right? And the first 2 months were in a slow period, but the last month was a really busy period. So I just was very honest with them and I said, look, I could do it for this rate for the slow months, but that's a busy month for me where my rate is like much higher than you're offering. So for me to do it in that month, we're going to have to, I'd need a higher rate. There's no way. Or I could do them all in these months and I can give you the same deal I gave you last, during that month span. And the guy came back, was just like, I am offended. I feel like you're asking this is more than you charged last year. And I'm like, and at first I was like angry, like, I almost started with all the stuck points, like, oh, he doesn't value me. And I was like, wait a minute. That's not what's going on here. No. I value me. He has his own stuff that's going on. He's got a budget. It has nothing to do with me. What he's saying to me has nothing to do with Gab. It has everything to do with him, his budget, what he can work with. So let's not make this personal. And that helped me calm down, be grounded, be present. And so when I was negotiating with him, I was in a calm state. But I think that's also good because I think sometimes, like, especially with someone you know, you're like, you start thinking like it's personal. And I think so much of the time, none of it is personal. Like I go like the other way now. When someone does something and I like have a second of feeling insulted, like I feel it in my chest or I feel it in my body, I'm getting feverish. And I'm like, wait a minute, most people are so out of it. They're not really, they don't think about anyone but themselves. It was not personal towards me. And even if it was, who cares? Like literally, and I don't sweat the small stuff like I used to. I used to take things so personally, Janine. Like, I mean, this, you might think this is wrong, but like for years when Josh and I would walk into schools in some of the more like rural or conservative areas, people would say, oh, which one's Josh? Like in a real shitty tone. And Josh would also be like, what the hell? What? Like what happened? Like it happened like at least more than 12 times. And it was a problem. Like that Josh and I both were like, ow, like what is happening? This fall, we walked into school, one that didn't know us. I mean, my hair's longer now too. So which one of you is Josh? We both were just like, but instead of getting angry and being like rural, conservative, like going the way I used to go, I just was like, you know what? Like it's 2024. Gender is very blurred. He may have literally been just being respectful. Which one of you is Josh and which one of you is Guy? It could have had nothing to do with either of our appearances. Like it had nothing to do with us, you know? And I wasn't mad, but I like in the olden days, I'd like the whole show I'd been bitter and angry on some level, you know, and it would have taken away from me being fully present in the show. And now it's just like, yeah, whatever, you know. But yeah, just little
And
things.
I can relate to that fully too. And again, so I apparently I have some trauma points to work on too. Because like you said before, no one roots for Gab. No, and I believe me, I have said almost those exact words, but I didn't say no one roots for Gab as I was thinking of myself. But the whole idea of like, oh, they'll share memes all the live long day, but no one's sharing things about my shows, or no one's sharing, and I share theirs, and no one's sharing, and no one care. And it's like that, and like what you're saying about like taking things personally. And I've talked about this too recently with a friend. I attach emotion to almost everything. That is a problem. I'm aware of it. I attach meaning and emotion to almost everything. And it is a problem, especially like the professional stuff, because you can't. And like, at least I'm trying to tell myself, well, take 12 hours, take 24, and then come back and answer, so that you're not showing that emotion. Because one, it's not professional. Two, it probably doesn't go well because I'm not, looking at it rationally. But I will tell you, personally, for me, it does get exhausting when you attach emotion to everything and make it personal. It's what kind of wears me out some weeks,
Yep.
honestly.
No, it's why I had to stop because it would break me. It was gonna break me, Janine. If I did that, I used to do that with everything. Like everything was, a tone on a voice of talking to someone. But at this point, too, now I realize like just because I'm hyper emotional and I'm hypersensitive and I overanalyze everything, 99.99% of most people don't. They're not doing that. And I can't expect them to, nor should I then get offended by things. I truly believe most people are just doing their own thing and they're like surprised when they bump into you at the store. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, because they're just not even they just thought they were at the store alone. And it's not even that they're jerks. Like they're just in their story, That's one of my like things I've been doing so I've been doing like daily affirmations, but I've been doing like weekly affirmations. And for me, I got to be honest, like getting into this therapy with my therapist, I called her hippy dippy. I didn't want to do any of this. And one of the reasons this all has worked for me, and she pointed out, she's like, because you take the stuff I give you and then you make it yours. You make it Gab. So like we did parts work, but I had to turn parts work in a way that I could understand parts work. So then when I came back to her and I'm like, this is how I see parts work, she's like, that's it. But it's you did it so it works for you. And so like my affirmations are a little bit different than probably like, you deserve value. I don't do that. Like one of the ones I do, like I did this for the week and it really helped me just because like with Christmas shopping, being out and about among people, my thing is everyone has a story. And I just say that. So like I'm driving in traffic and a guy's riding my butt and then gets around me and I want to murder him, literally. Like if I had a fireball, I would be throwing it at his car and watching it go up in flames. Instead of having that reaction when I'm like, that guy, I'm like, wait a minute, everyone has a story. Oh God, what if like literally his boss was like, if you're late one more time, you're fired and it's Christmas next week and he's got 6 kids. See, my dad was always in danger of losing his job at the holidays. So, I'm going to give that guy a break. It's fine, whatever. Or like, what if it's a girl and they called and they're like, it's now or never. You got to get to the hospital. Your mom's real. I was that girl driving like a lunatic to get to a hospital to be there for my mom. And then you give that person compassion. You're like, yeah, everyone has a story. And then, but the reality is you remember your story and you start giving yourself compassion and you're like, man, I've gone through a lot and I'm doing great right now. Like, all right. And then you're like riding high. You know what I mean? You've let another person be a person. And then you remember you're a person too. And you're just driving, you go shopping.
Do your shopping.
My days. My poor sister, it's been a little rough for her. And the minute I got the certificate, she's like, all right, coach, what do I do now? And I'm like, all right, this is what I would do. I just
Oh man, to your point about what you just said though, and I'm aware, boy, I'm like, yeah, sorry, you're on the couch already. But I'm like, I also I don't like we've talked about this before about giving grace and compassion. I will tell you I still struggle with that. And I know obviously there's something deep I need to work on, but I'm always like accountability, accountability. I'm like, where do we draw the line? Because it's, you can't cut everyone slack. So I'm still aware that I'm like, okay, there's something going on there. I'm aware of it. But I appreciate that you're doing it. I'll keep you in mind.
No, but I think that's great that you're even like, wait, okay, so why am I angry when I feel what happened? Like, what is my thing? What is the thing that makes me do that? Yeah, no. But then when you get there, you're gonna be like, I have to say, one of the most amazing things I learned in this trauma class was about trauma memories can go as far back as the womb. So in a case of someone who was born like my sister, she was born breech, as was my father. You're stuck in your mother, right? That's a trauma. The baby is stuck. They're twisting the baby around, trying to get the baby out. This feeling of stuck could be a trauma that you have the rest of your life, even though you weren't conscious. It's like, it's your cells. They're able to remember this. Both my father and my sister have had more jobs than anyone in the world, because the minute they feel stuck, they're out. Like, it was really like a pattern in their lives. My brother Pep, who was an addict, was born under dire circumstances. He was a premature baby. My mother's first husband was abusive, terrible. I mean, just that it could start so far back before you were even conscious. Like, they taught me that every single human being has suffered trauma. It's whether it's with a big T or a little t, whether, how it is going to adapt, your brain will adapt to it. And yeah, so I mean, I think just always being kind to yourself too, Ginny. And that's the thing. I think one of the hardest parts to even like, you can't heal trauma if you don't feel safe. And if you're beating yourself up, you're not safe, and if you're around people that you don't really feel like you can grow, you're not safe to do this work. And it's tragic, because a big part of it, my mother was my favorite person that ever lived, but I don't think I could have fully done this work while she was here, because I would have felt guilty to ever be like, oh, well, this wasn't something you messed up. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want her to, she didn't mean to mess up. She was a person doing her best. So yeah, it's wild. It's an interesting experience. Something
That
I
is
never thought.
very interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I just never thought I would be here, truly. Like, happy wasn't in the cards for me. That was a stuck point. I don't get to be happy. I won't be happy. I don't know what happiness is. I know what it is now, and I really want to help others get here, because it's kind of great. It's really great.
That's awesome. I joke, and maybe it's not a joke, but like my mother had induced labor. So I always tease, I say I was dragged out of the womb. And I said that's
Wow.
why I'm a procrastinator, because now I'm gonna make you guys wait. Cause yeah, it was like Labor Day weekend and they induced labor. So it was like I was forced out of the womb and I didn't want to go.
There you go, Janine. Jeez. I mean, it's true. So my birth is also very, very telling of the person I am. So my whole life, I have my gut instinct, but my mother was always more my voice more than myself. So if I was like, oh, this is what I think, she'd be like, no, do this. So I don't trust, I like 9 out of 10 don't trust my gut. Well, when I was being born, the day I was born, my dad said to my mom, "Don't have the baby today. This is an important day." He worked at a club, at a bar. He needed to make tip money. He's like, "You cannot have the baby today." So all day long, my mom's like, "Not having the baby today. Nope, not like forcing me not to be born." She had labor pains she had never felt because they were in her back because she was ignoring the real ones. I was like bursting out of her by the time it was like, but she's telling me, "Don't be born." No. And then when she has to have me, she's like, "Oh no, it was not supposed to be today. She was not supposed to be," like negative about Michael. You know what I mean? I'm like, "No, it's now. Oh, it's not now. What should now I doubt myself and all the time." So now I've gotten really good though about like if trusting my instinct and be like, "No, we're gonna trust Gab. You knew you needed to be born on March 1st. They were gonna push you to the second, girl."
Wow, that is interesting. That is really cool. So tell me a little bit so people understand. So you got the certification. So now I know you hinted at it a little bit, the individual and group. What so will you be doing in-person stuff? Will you be offering online stuff? So what do you where are you taking it?
Yeah, so I'm doing, slow launch with everything, Janine, but I'm going to start in the new year. To start with like advertising and, getting it, launching it, I'm going to offer like a lot of stuff for free. Like, I'll do like a weekly affirmation either on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube shorts, just real short, like every week, give a free affirmation out. I want to do like a video podcast on my YouTube where I basically just talk about a different part of trauma and things that I've learned every week and kind of just so it's like a free resource for people. And then I also do want to take clients at 30 to 60-minute sessions, and we'll price accordingly. And then I'm also want to start by the end of January like an online Zoom group. So I would limit it to like 10 participants to start. I would present at the beginning of it, everything, sort of a little bit about my story, a little bit of my talks like I do, but a shortened one, then like a life coach lesson for that specific group, and then open it up to the group to talk and, but I also have to, like, right now I have like a lawyer drafting up a contract because this is a little slightly more serious. So I need to have everyone sign it. I want people to know like this is what I can offer and this is what I can't. I'm not a doctor. So I'm just here to help you. I can advise you. So if you're waiting to meet with a therapist, I can advise you on what kind of therapies might really be beneficial once you get in. I will obviously encourage you to go to a trauma-informed therapist if I believe trauma is at the root of all mental health. So I do think starting with trauma there's nothing wrong with that. And then also I'm very freakishly positive and humorous, and I think you get that too in your one-on-ones with me. You know what I mean? You're gonna have somebody who's really rooting for you, who yeah, so I mean I think you get that too. You're gonna get me checking in with you, making sure you're doing okay, and seeing you every week on Zoom to start. I have another friend who also just got her life coach certificate, and she and I have loosely talked about maybe down the line co getting like a co-space together, like we'd share an office. And my therapist has openings in her building that she's already like, "Come get your office over here. We could be right across from each other." I feel like our relationship is going to have to start. We're already basically down to once every 3 weeks. And as we start working on the book, we can't do that in session. So I could see us having to sever the professional to start the new professional relationship. But yeah, that's what I want to do with the life coaching, and while continuing to be a professional performer. So yeah, that's why Zoom I think is ideal up top because it'll just work better with my schedule and
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I like what you made a really good point too. That to help people understand what it is and what it isn't. I think that's truly smart. And I imagine you probably have to do that, or anybody who's, the most professional should be doing that because like you said, it's like you're not a doctor, you're not meant to be a therapist, but you have enough experience and with the life coaching to help them understand what they should do next or what would be helpful or useful, like you said. I think that's really important that people understand that. But like you said, while they're waiting, at least this is, I think, even sometimes I know how much better I feel after talking to a friend. If I'm talking on a walk, that's even better. And then you got the laughter in it too. So you've got humor, you've got nature outdoors, you've got exercise, you've got talking. Talking is so important. So, I mean, yes, it is good that you're, clarifying what you are and what you aren't. But I think conversations are so important. Sometimes maybe that could just even tide them over until they do get that appointment or whatever. And working together, both things together, I think are great.
I do too. And I think also with a lot of clients that I'm hoping down the line, Specifically people when I took care of my mother, like people who were 65 plus who are also just lonely and need some positive energy in their life. Kids, I specifically want to take courses on working with adolescents because I mean my therapist is always like, you need to be a life coach for children. I mean, you need to go and help kids. But like also kids just need to be heard, seen. You got to get on their level, like just simple things like that I already have that skill set. So I really hope to like have all ages of clients and just yeah, and I just want to make people, I truly, my goal is for you to be the happiest version of you. So I'm not trying, I want you to just be, I want you to be happy. That's what I want for my clients. And I also believe you can be happy while horrible things are happening around you in your own life. I've seen it myself. My father was dying of cancer, but we still laughed and had fun. My mother was dying of vascular disease, and she and I would have some of the best time at her appointments, laughing and just cutting up and being ourselves. And you can find joy and and discover what is your joy. I mean, I have to be honest, like getting the clarity of my diagnoses has helped me so much. Like one thing that I've done that's masking for me that I've done to try to fit in and seem normal. So I play dumb a lot. I've done this since college. I wanted people to like me, so I play dumb a lot, which means I don't, when I know something, I don't go, no, that's not right. So when I was in high school, if you would say something like, oh, well, Katharine Hepburn won an Oscar for Woman of the Year, I'd be like, oh, no, she didn't win an Oscar for Woman of the Year. She won 4 Oscars. The first one was in 1927 for Morning Glory. And I would just, blurt out all these facts, right? My dad dies. I'm in college and I want to have friends. I want to know what it's like to be social. I want to know what it's like to be normal. So I learn quickly. Don't do that. Stop. You know what, people like it when you're dumb. They actually love it when you're more of a dummy. They get to feel smart. I've been doing this for 20. Every therapist I ever had would be like, yeah, why do you do that? Why do you pretend to be dumb? Don't pretend to be dumb. And I'm like, but I have to. I don't know any other way to be with people. So like the last couple months, the only person who's taking it in strides are two people, my sister and my best friend, Bethany, because it's like, oh, you're back. I remember you, but like other people are sort of like, oh, wait, Gabby usually always just backs down and doesn't. And I don't do that. I'm like, that's not true. That's not the answer. That's the answer. Nope, you're wrong. It's 8:47. I'm not going to pretend to be dumb anymore. I can't do this just so you like me. You don't have to like me. I don't need people to like me anymore. That's the other part of this. I like me. And that's amazing because I never did before. And now that I like me, I don't need you to like me. And that's been great.
Yeah. And that's a hard place, I think, often for many people, myself included, I think, even to some degree to get to, right? I mean, if it was easy, right, you wouldn't have done what you did for 20 years, right? I mean, it took a while. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I used to say I just wanted everyone else to be happy. But like in order for me to help other people be happy, I have to be happy. That's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, again, I'll go back to my conversation with my friend Greg before. He was saying about like, I was saying something about like, oh, so I worry about what people think, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, focus on, he goes, self work. And I think for the new year, that is it. And then, of course, I jokingly said, do you know any contractors out there who will do my self work for me?
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I need to do that work, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is worth it. It is worth it. And it's, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend this has been easy. It's been like, ooh, I mean, you dig through a lot of crap, but I was very, I'm glad I really researched my therapist before I found her, and she's just been great. I've been really, really lucky. And I'm almost like, I feel like if I give her up, someone else in my life could have her. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like, I just don't know if my sister will do it. We've all talked. We're like, she would be great for you, Rose. But Rose, like, Rose is the hippy dippy stuff gets to her too. So
Hmm.
I can do it in a way it's not as hippy dippy.
Yeah. Well, and you can't make people do things, right? We know that. So
No,
when
no,
she's
no.
ready, if she's ready,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is great. I love what you're doing. It's very hopeful. You had a great year. Anything fun we could talk about holiday related? So we'll make a little transition there. Last year we talked about movies. What are you doing for the holidays that makes you especially happy this year?
Oh, let me try to think. I've already done a few things that have been joyous. I had Josh and his wife and his two daughters, Bethany, my best friend, her husband, and Oscar, and then my sister and her husband over for like a Josh and Gab holiday party. And that was really fun. It was just
I
great to
saw the
be
Instagram
together.
photo. Looked like so much fun. Yeah.
I have so many more photos to post. I'm like, and now it's getting closer to Christmas. I'm going to be, more obnoxious online. But truthfully, I've been really loving not being on social media. Like, I just love being out in the world and existing. Um, so with my colonoscopy, I usually do a lot of baking. And this year I sort of decided I'm not going to put any pressure on myself to bake. And that's been great. It's been a money saver. It's been a stress saver. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever baking again. This has been wonderful not having the pressure. One of the fun things I've been doing this season is my sister bought me a Bon Maman jam advent calendar. So every day I get to try a new Bon Maman jam. Today it was what was it? It was a 4 fruit spread, mixed berries spread. That's what I did right before you
Oh,
with you. That's very joyous.
what do you put it on? Let me ask. Do you put it on like a biscuit, a cracker?
Oh, I eat it like Winnie the Pooh eating honey. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I eat jam with a spoon. I actually have a whole monologue about jam that I did. I'll just rewind. I one night, middle of the night, woke up, went downstairs, apparently ate a bunch of jam, then wrote a monologue about jam, fell asleep, didn't know any of this happened. Wake up the next morning, walk over to get to my dresser, and there's this long written monologue, and then there's sticky jam all over it. It was all about my passion for jam. And I read it, and I was like, this is like I can perform this as is. Like I don't even have to edit it. And I have. I've performed it as is since that day. But it was all done in a jam hallucination. That's how much I love jam. So that's why my sister buys me jam of the month. But yeah, no, I have like Christmas Eve, I'll be at Bethany's. Christmas Day, I'll be my sister, her husband, and his mom come here. The 23rd, we go out to dinner with my brother and his wife. So it's just a lot of like, I was just out this weekend. It's a lot of hustle bustle, visiting, colonoscopies. Oh, but the thing I think I'm the most excited about, Oscar has his first little like holiday concert. That's Wednesday at 1.
Oh,
And invited to go. So I'm very like that's like that'll be the highlight for me. I'm definitely in that like the next generation, I just he gives me such joy. That kid truly is a big part of saving my life. Like he 4.5 years ago is exactly when I got this therapist and everything started going in the positive direction. And he is a big, big part of like my mental wealth.
is he going to be singing or what do they do at this little
Yeah, they're
concert?
doing
Do they have little triangles they'll ding or what?
I don't know if they'll let the pre-K kids have a triangle because that could turn dangerous. But I do think the song he's singing all the time is up on the housetop. So I'm assuming that's the song. But he's a tough audience. You're like, hey, Oscar, do you have a Christmas concert coming up? No. Okay. Are you singing songs in school? Yes. Okay. Do you think that if they mention you all go into a room and sing? I don't know. Can we act Scooby-Doo now? Okay, let's do Scooby-Doo now. The conversations are very, but he did break my heart this week, though, Janine, or last week when I picked him up from school. I mean, truly, it was the first time that, oh my God, Janine, I'm going to tell you because you'll appreciate it. Pick him up and he goes, Aunt Gabby, Jack never lets me sit next to him at lunch, and he doesn't let me sit next to him at playtime, and he never lets me walk behind him. And I was like, why? Why doesn't Jack let you sit next to him? And he's like, well, because he says Cole's his best friend, and he doesn't want anyone to sit by him but Cole, so I never get to sit by him. And I was like, oh no, well, where do you sit? And he went, why sit by Cole just so I can kind of be close to Jack? I
Oh.
truly, my heart literally just shattered, fell out of my body. I had to keep it cool, Janine, because I wanted to be like, oh, hey, where's Jack live? Because he's dead. You know what I mean? Like, I bring it back. I'm like, no, no, he's a child. I was like, hey, Oscar, you know what? Could you just tell Jack that Gabby from Josh and Gab, very disappointed to not let you sit next to him. We should let everyone take turns and share and be friends with everybody. And really was like, but then I couldn't wait to get to his mother. I'm like, tell mommy what about Jack? No, no. And Bethany was like, no, you don't want to sit by Jack anyway. It's just like, what? Kids at 4.5, you already have to be like, no, not you. I hate that crap. Oh,
Oh.
my heart's broken. He's the most perfect little boy. Oh.
Oh my gosh. I've heard story like I'm just thinking of a friend whose son is getting a hard time at school being bullied, and I'm like, man, and it comes from nonsense from the parents and comes down in this particular case, but it's like it is heart-wrenching to hear about. Like it's oh my gosh. The kids don't need that on top of every other thing that's going on around the world that they might gather stress from, you know?
I know, and
Uh
I feel like he ultimately handles it better because he has other kids who want to hang out with him. But like I know me, that crap killed. Like I'm super sensitive, so like if any kid was just like, no, I don't want to hang out with you, like that, they may have well just stabbed me. Like it hurt just as much as being physically wounded. So I don't think it wounded him as bad as stuff like that used to wound me, but ooh, I really had to like pull it together and not go murder a child and not start sobbing in front of Oscar. I was like, it'll be fine, buddy. You have other friends. You don't need him. Yeah, but it was just a lot, man. And that kid I thought was his friend. So when I was doing the assembly, I was like, hey, Jack, you're Oscar's buddy. And like hooking him up with stickers. God, I'm a sucker.
got to get those stickers back, damn it.
Yeah. Ooh, I gotta hoard those stickers now. But anyway, yeah. So that was the only like,
A
I
little
mean, it's kind
bummer
of like
there.
very Christmassy because most Christmas cartoons involve bullying, like Rudolph
Mm.
the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is the bully. There's just always a bully somewhere, Janine.
Yeah, you got to have that. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
as you
I
said
know.
earlier, right? Everyone has a story, right?
Everyone has a story. That's the truth. Yeah. So what's going on with poor Jack? God.
Seriously, there's got to be
No.
something there, maybe, you think?
No,
Probably.
no. Or it could even be something like you saying with parents, like, oh, you need to be nice to the other boy. You never know.
Well, and truthfully, because the situation, I won't share too many details, but it's like that around the election. Like the kids
Oh,
talking about like for their parents who their parents were voting for, and I mean at 9 like you need to, and then someone else, and then it's like, oh okay, you're taking that to the lunch table, like, so you never know what's being heard at home that's
yeah.
informing the kid. It's
No,
sometimes I don't think the parents realize maybe if their child's listening or how much their child understands, or you know what I mean, picks up on.
yeah, I don't think I ultimately wish kids didn't talk about that kind of stuff in school because it really doesn't apply to them. They don't vote. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Why have more things to divide them? Like we've been at schools where kids are wearing, the the upcoming president on their shirt and stuff.
That
And I'm
guy,
like,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, you know what? Like that wasn't, I didn't see that while until he was reelected. So I'm like, I guess you can't say no, you can't wear the future president's face on your shirt. But I just feel like I felt like when we were in high school, like you weren't allowed to wear a political candidate. I don't know. I just feel like divisive stuff was just not allowed. Like it just wouldn't have been encouraged.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have been. But then again, things were different then, and everyone didn't feel the need to say who they voted for, or they'd be like, yeah, I think that dude is Republican or that family's Democrat, but you were still like, but that's my neighbor. Like you were still, you know what I mean? That was a
Yeah, it was.
different.
My brother was young. He was very like, so my brother does work in politics now. Like that's what he does. He's a political consultant. And he would wear like, I don't even know who was running in the early 80s. I was, a baby, but he would wear like Mondale or
I
whatever.
was literally gonna
Oh,
say
because I
Montel.
was like, is that it? Mondale? I was like, Mondale. Because I feel when we moved, I found like all these pins that were his political pins. But yeah, like he'd wear Mondale pins to high school. So I guess people did do it in the early 80s. Um, but I don't know. I never wore like I didn't wear a Clinton shirt to high school. I don't think. Did I have a Clinton sweatshirt? I might have. I don't know. It's possible.
I didn't have any well, and again, we won't go down on this topic, but it's like they're political leaders. They're not, cartoon character. Well, maybe they are, but they're not meant. They're, you know what I mean? Like it's supposed to be a political leader. See, I don't understand the idea of idolizing or making them
Yeah,
anything more than that. Like people are sinking their money into primarily Trump, but like I'm gonna have 5 flags for
right.
my truck. I'm gonna have a special made, like a friend, someone I went to grade school with, let's put it that way. I don't think we've spoken ever since. No reason, we just don't have each other in each other's lives. He posted about his Trump Christmas ornament,
Oh my
that
God.
he'd be passing out soon, and I'm like, again, whatever. It's just I don't know, like there's a difference between a political leader and being like, okay, whether you voted for him or not, versus idolizing or making the person like, oh, I want some of his merch. Like that's just screwed up in my opinion. But
I
hey.
know. I feel like I was guilty of that with Hillary, though. I probably had like 15 Hillary shirts. I have a
Did
Hillary.
you really? I want one.
I have a
Give
Hillary
me one.
action figure. I have a Hillary poster. I mean, if they would have made a big like Hillary like squishy, I would have had one to sleep with her. So I don't know. I was pretty bad with Hillary. Hillary.
All right. Okay. That I see. I don't know anyone else. Now there's obviously there are other people. I just didn't meet them because all I have, in fact, do I still have them here? For the longest time I had over here my Hillary bumper stickers. That's all I had because I think I donated once and I had the bumper stickers, but that was it. And I really liked her. So I just don't want to spend money on merch for a politician. But I understand. I'm not judging you at all. Please
Oh
don't make
no.
because I think she's a badass woman. And, as far as, yeah, we don't need it. We've talked about this before, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so I could get behind that.
Yeah,
I
so
could,
I feel like I've done it. I've been that person. But Hillary also, and I've said this to you before, my mother, when my mother was dying, Hillary was running, and when my mother passed, we said in lieu of flowers, please donate to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so I really think that I didn't just love Hillary, I kind of like associated her with my mom. And I really like I literally thought I was voting for my mom for president like half the time. So it was like it started getting a little like very blurry there. So I've had to take a break from all politics because I don't want to ever feel that way about any politician ever again. I just, these people where it's a job, they have to go do a job. We all have to go do jobs. It's just a job.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
no, I 100% agree. Yeah.
but to pull this back to the holidays, I'm here talking about kids wearing Trump shirts. Like that is somehow maybe they shouldn't be allowed. I used to wear Jesus. I was a kid who wore unironically Christmas sweatshirts. My
You
mother would order them in a catalog called the Avon catalog, and I had the full nativity. I had a nutcracker, and I wore it and meant it. I loved it, and I thought I looked cool. So that was real. Middle school, Janine, middle
I
school.
remember you sharing that last year and oh man, I would love to see that. Do you have if you have any pictures of you wearing that as a kid, that would be
I have
awesome.
to look. The nativity one was great. It was like a hunter green with like a nice. It was really lovely. I loved it. I'm a sucker for the nativity. I really am. I just the whole story. I told that story. Oh, I tried telling Oscar that story. Of course, it got misinterpreted. He always likes the bad guys. So I'm like trying to bill it like, oh, and then imagine like they're trying to have this baby, and everywhere they go, they knock on the door and like, can we please, we're super desperate. Can we have our baby? And they're like, no, go away. And then they go to another place and like, can we have our baby? No, go. And then finally they get to have the baby. And so his mom's like, did you learn the story of Jesus? He's like, no. I'm like, yes, you did. What happened? Come on. His mom and dad were going door to door. Oh, that's right. Go away. You can't have your baby here. I'm like, that's not the okay. Well, that's of course the part you liked. Shunning the birth of Christ's child. All right, Oscar.
Well, he did get some message from it.
Get out. No. Yeah.
Slamming the door in their faces.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
But
he is four
Janine,
and a half, right?
but Janine, give me this. And who you are. Janine, give me this. You've lived in Scranton. Imagine someone knocks on your door and is like, hey, my wife needs to have a baby. Do you really think you're opening the door, Janine? I'm keeping it real. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. Are we letting a stranger's placenta on our carpet? I don't know. I don't know if I am, Janine. What are you doing?
I knocked a pregnant woman over in Target yesterday. You kidding me? No, I'm teasing. It wasn't Target, it was Walmart. Hey, oh no, I did not. No, of course. No, I hear you 100%. Yeah, like well, first of all, I wouldn't want to answer the door if it was unless if I was not expecting someone, I'd be like,
You go.
who's out there? I would not, and then I'd probably offer to call 911 for them.
Right, right. But again, it is like a very like I've always thought of the story like those bastards. They wouldn't let them in to have the baby, and I'm like, wait a minute, for real, Gab. You hate germs, strangers, other people's molecules. You're gonna just open your door willy-nilly and have someone have a baby on your floor? What? Probably not. I'm a bad Christian. Yeah, it was really like I had this whole epiphany about this.
Epiphany. Yes.
The epiphany of the nativity.
Epiphany of the Nativity. Oh boy, that's a one-woman show right there. Oh my God, that would be a great show, actually. Uh, well, I like to say, and I've been saying it for a long time, I think we are all hypocrites to some degree. I do. And I when I say that, it is not like you people, it's me
Yeah, me too.
because I see my hypocrisy, but I think we all are to some degree. I'm not saying, you know what I mean? It's because it's like, and I find myself, sometimes I make these kind of all or nothing statements, but it's like, no, hold, pull it back. Do you do that all the time? Do you not do that? Like, pull it back. So I try to be aware of it, but like fixing it going forward, that's again something I need to work on. But I think we all are somewhat swimming in the hypocrisy pool to some degree.
How can we not, right? Because we're
Yeah.
all humans. We're all trying to be better, but we're still our old selves. And there's that,
Yeah.
that internal fight always.
That struggle that's going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And like I said, December's been kind of willy-nilly for the podcast, just little mini-sodes. I was on there ranting around Thanksgiving, which God knows who listened, if they liked it, if they didn't. So December is not a regular month, is what I want to say here on the podcast. But I love chatting with you every couple of months. It's great for us to get on here and talk. And I love your positivity, where you're at in life now. And I'm so glad that I got to talk to you and that hopefully my listeners will be inspired by it because I think, you're a great example of, what can happen when you work on yourself and you choose positivity and gratitude.
Yeah. It really, as much as I was like you, Janine, and I would have been like, that's not going to work. But I made it like a job and it worked. It really did.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
practiced.
great.
Yeah.
You should be proud of yourself. I hope you are.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for always having me on, Janine. I love getting to talk with you. I really appreciate you always help spreading the word. I feel like Scranton has become my second home. I have no gigs yet booked that way for 2025. So that's something I got to get on stat.
What about Pittston? Aren't you guys coming to the school? I
Oh
thought you
wait,
were.
maybe we are coming. I think we may be coming. Josh might have something booked for us. I know we're going down
Okay.
like near Maryland in February, so I don't know. There might be stuff in March actually.
Okay.
But I also want to, I met a ton of people in high school, so I'm hoping to like get in touch with them and maybe do something this spring, see if there's some way I can come out.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I know you had mentioned Pittston, and that's like literally a 15. In fact, that's where my massage was today. So that's like right down the road by 15 minutes. So hopefully you guys get that. So I
Disability
get to
Pride
see
was,
you.
right?
What's
Yeah,
that?
that's where Disability Pride was.
Oh, yes, that was Pittston. Yes, because you got to meet the mayor and you liked it because it's
Yes.
like a lot of Italians.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Tomato capital of the world. I love it.
Yes. Try our tomatoes. I don't know what the hell that is, and I'm sorry. Please don't yell at me for misappropriating.
I'll allow it. I'm Italian.
Okay, thank you. Because
Welcome.
I'm Irish. I should have said, "Oh, those tomatoes are a little wee bit small." I don't know. Yeah, that's a terrible Irish accent.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I'm going for there, but whatever the hell. Well, thank you. And we will have, I hate when I say that because it's like, no, this is me, damn it. I will have you back on to talk in a couple months so you can update us on what's going on. And I wish you the best of luck with this new life coaching stuff. I think it's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear more about it and how it's going.
Thanks so much, Janine. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful new year. And I will see you in the new year.
Absolutely. And as I close up, I have exciting news to share. And who knows, I'm not going to use the shoulds because I've been shoulding myself my whole life, but I'm going to share it now. I am so excited. I wanted to do it at the beginning and I just forgot. You've heard me mention my podcast sponsor, Budget Through Life with Emily Hickox. Well, I have just picked up a second podcast sponsor. So starting in January, Reinvented Threads will be a sponsor. And Gabby Lynn, who has Reinvented Threads, was on the podcast in the first year of this podcast. So I've had this going on now over 3.5 years. So it's been a while, but Gabby Lynn is a beautiful soul. I love Gabby. She is someone who, like, she does have her day job, but she has the business Reinvented Threads. and she makes items from existing fabrics only. So she has sustainable accessories, purses, bags, these bags that you can put your like water bottle in, bucket hats, beanies made out of like cashmere sweaters, a bunch of really cool like ugly dolls. Do I have one? Oh my gosh, I do actually have the ugly doll that she sent me. Here we go. And he's called they're monster dolls, not ugly. This one says mindful on it. And I love him. I actually have another one, and she's selling a lot of these. So I'm not doing a great job giving her a shout out, but she makes really cool stuff, creative stuff that is made from existing materials. So if you listen to my Thanksgiving rant, I talked about the Netflix documentary Buy Now, the shopping conspiracy. You talk about Oscar breaking your heart, Gab. This thing had me like decimated. It's basically like I knew that we were so what's the word? Consumerism is through the roof, like gimme, gimme, gimme. We spend too much, we want too much, we have too much, all that stuff I knew. But watching this, it's like another level. Seeing the clothes that we donate and we feel good about ourselves, like, yeah, I donated. And they're like, clothes are like piling up on the shores of Ghana because we send a lot of clothing there and they simply can't use it all and they don't need it. So it's like in the ocean. So what I want to say is I love what Gabby's doing because she's trying to do something positive for the earth and not add more stuff to it. So Gabby of Reinvented Threads will be my sponsor starting in January. So I am so excited. I now have 2 podcast sponsors. Yay. Yay me.
That's so awesome, Janine.
I'm really happy about that. Yeah, some good things happening. So I'm manifesting a little. Now I just want to keep it going for 2025. So I hope to do that. No, I don't hope to do it. I'm going to do it, damn it. You
You
don't
got
hope
go.
to do, you do.
It's gonna be the best year ever.
Best year ever.
Just accept it.
That is right. That is true. All right. Well, I want to thank Gab once again. I want to thank you, my listeners. I am excited for January. A lot of folks I will be lining up, gals, women, fantastic women that will be talking to you about a variety of things. I will admit that I have a lot of scheduling to do and I have a lot of work to do, but I have a whole bunch of folks that are lined up that I'm so excited for you to hear from. I hope for you to be inspired, informed, and entertained. And if I could reach one of those, great. But if I could do all 3, that would be amazing. So thank you again for listening. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.